So the civil war in Uganda is largely over, and Joseph Kony, the vicious leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, the so-called Lord's Resistance Army, is on the run. But the people he terrorized for 20 years, the women that he captured and tormented, still have to live with the terrible scars of what he did to them. Our guest is a woman who is so inspiring and who I have come to adore. Sister Rosemary Nyirumbe. She heals and pieces together the lives of the women Kony and his army captured. And her St. Monica's Tailoring Center in Uganda has tended to over 2,000 women, one life at a time. So welcome.
Thank you.
And I think we'd all love to know, after those years in captivity, and we've been hearing, of course, about the Chibok girls and thinking about their lives at the moment, how did these girls come out? What kind of people were they when they came out? And how did they find you?
One thing which we all have to remember is that when these girls are abducted and taken to captivity by the rebels, they go through a lot of pain and they have a lot of trauma they have to deal with. But also, we got to know the children abducted by the Lord's Resistance Army are both boys and girls. And so imagine that a little girl and a little brother are going, a brother and sister are going to school. They come in contact with the rebels. They are abducted. The boy and the girl will all be trained as child soldiers, but the girl is more prized by the rebels because immediately they are used as sex slaves, much as they are trained also as child soldiers. So a little girl being given to a rebel commander who she thinks would protect her as a father, and suddenly she hears, this is your husband, it's more scary. So the girls are doubly traumatized. When they manage to escape to come back, even the boys and girls still have the worst situation of trauma because they have to return with the children they get from their captors. The children got from sexual violence, children got from this painful situation, they come with them, and the boys do not have children, and boys, maybe some of these boys are the fathers of these children, but they cannot take responsibilities. And so the girls will remain always the reject of the society. Because in my own culture, when a girl has a child or two from somebody else, it's very difficult to know where this child is going to belong because our children are supposed all to be the children of a clan. But whose clan are these children going to belong to? Because these children are got from different commanders, different soldiers. So where are their fathers? They belong nowhere.
So these girls are doubly rejected.
They're doubly rejected.
They've been through this trauma and they can't even go home because this community rejects them. So they come to you. Now, how do they find you?
I really have to make the place, the school we're running, not to look like a school, it has to look more of a family. And of course, I made a lot of effort even going on radio, making an announcement that I know that there are a lot of girls out there who have nowhere to go. I would like you to come to our school. But come in the situation you are. If you are a mother, come with your children or come with your child. If you're pregnant, come as you are. If you are raped, come as you are. Because for me, I wanted to create a situation where these women, the young girls, would find a family where they can get healed, where they can restore their lost childhood, where they can find women who can become their mothers, women who can accept them, embrace them in their situation.
So how do these girls, how do you start to work with these girls? When they come in with their children, they must be just traumatized. So how do you reach them and how do you bring them back into the world?
You know, it's always a challenge. I am a dreamer. And when you dream, sometimes it's quite challenging, but I share my dreams with other people. But I never look at a situation as of these girls coming with their children as a difficult situation, because first of all, I know that we can take care of these women and their children in the same compound. But my challenge is, when I invited these girls, I didn't have where to put the children. And I didn't expect the number, which turned out more than 200 girls coming with their children. So when I look at that challenge, where I would leave these women and put the children somewhere, I knew that we had a lot of trees in our compound, and I said, the shade of these trees can be for me a shelter. I'm going to put these children here. I get some experienced mother to take care of these women, the children, and leave these young girls to have a moment where they can rebuild their lives, while at the same time giving them that opportunity where they can come and reunite with their children from time to time. Because I realized when these young women know there's someone who is caring for their children, someone adopting them with their children, giving them love, they eventually start loving these children and they bond. And I realized this is all what these girls needed, that compassion and love. A person who can embrace them and say, I'm going to adopt you and your children.
Well, it's so moving because, one doesn't think about the fact that, of course, these children are children of rape and violence, as you said, and the mothers really can't feel for them. They have to really be taught to love them. And that, you told me, was one of the things that you really have to teach them to do, is to love their own children.
Yes, because I know these children are really coming from these women. And, of course, the reason why sometimes they turn violent toward these children is because they don't know where to start from. Life is so confused. They have never been prepared to become mothers. And also just imagine that you have the child of your captor. That will always remain a painful image. And of course, knowing this and also taking from my own culture where we value children, when a woman is pregnant, we don't just go to her and say, you are pregnant. In whatever situation she becomes pregnant, we don't care. We say, you are blessed. That is the word everybody will say. So to me, children are still a blessing in whatever way they were got. That is why I would always encourage these girls by loving them, showing them that love, and of course introducing different activities. And I taught these girls so many things to let them know their destiny is in their own hands. They have to take care of these children. These children are the future of the nation, and they themselves are the future of the nation.
Well, Rosemary, you also teach them how to make things, don't you? Because one of your ideas at the school is that you don't simply shelter these women, you actually give them a craft, and you've begun to make these beautiful purses with them.
Actually, that's one of the ways I've been teaching these women. It's not only teaching them how to make purses just because of getting money and so forth, but the idea about the purses and about all other skills we are giving them is a way of mending their brokenness. And if you look, the purses are got on a website called sistersunited.com, and you will see I always have a needle, which is a very significant tool. The needle is used for putting all these pieces together. For me, we are actually mending the broken lives of these girls. And when you see us making dresses with sewing machine, those treadle machines, some of you are surprised. I'm actually not a seamstress, but I had to learn to become a seamstress. And of course, for me, the machine again is very significant. It can tell you that we are not using the machine guns. We are not using those guns these girls were trained to hold, to destroy lives. We are using machines to sew clothes, to sew their own lives.
Well, there is one particular girl, Susan, who we saw in the film, and I know she's very dear to your heart because of the way she came to you, the way you lost her, and the way you got her back. Let's hear about her now.
Susan is the girl you saw in the movie. For me, she's one I always have to follow very, very closely because of what she went through. She was forced to kill her own sister, and she was treated so badly while she was in captivity. And when this girl came to me, I took her in and really helped her to go through. And as a mother, sometimes you can be tough. You raise your voice sometimes at some children, and that's where I really forgot that I'm supposed to be a different mother. A mother who should understand this kid has a different need, this has a different kid. Susan decided to disappear from me, and I didn't see her for 1 year. And that pained my heart that I couldn't see Susan again, because I felt that I had gone a long way in rehabilitating her, and she was picking up so well, and she was getting away from that painful situation where she was forced to kill her own sister. And when I realized I couldn't get her anymore, I did everything I could to look for Susan. I was almost going to the police to make an announcement to look for Susan. And one day it happened, she came by herself to me. When I saw Susan, I was so totally humbled, and I was at the same time very, very happy to see her coming back. And I told her, I said, Susan, I would like to know where you've been. She said, sister, I tried to settle to look for some work that I could do to look after my kid and so forth. I said, no, Susan, you need to come back. I taught you how to make purses. I taught you how to make clothes. You come back, and I'm not only going to let you remain making this. I am sure you can go back to formal education. She said, sister, I am old. This girl is only 23. I said, Susan, you are not old. You go back to formal education, because I am very sure education will give you a voice. Education will set you free. And it took me like almost 1 year to convince Susan to go back to school. And last year, Susan came to me and said, sister, I'm going back to school. And now she's in school. Susan is able to communicate with me in English. Susan is able to write to me emails, which quite surprised me. And I was invited. I would have brought her here. I wrote back to Tina. I said, I cannot bring Susan because she's in school.
No. Hey. It's incredible.
So for me, Susan really represents that journey of pain, trauma, and triumph at the same time. Because when I see a woman like Susan walking in dignity, she has a great smile, all her beauty has come back, I feel that is what can make me very happy, and I say, now I think I can go.
So, when you hear about the brutality of the things that the Kony's army did, I mean, the idea that you could make a young girl kill her own sister is the cruelest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. It's so barbaric, and we're hearing about so many such stories now all over the world. You know, we're seeing now the rise of al-Shabaab. There are so many broken girls to heal. How do you think we can deal with this crisis? You're mending one life at a time. Is the model that you have of these rehabilitation really shelters which teach crafts, is this the answer, do you think, to bring these girls back each time when they're found?
I really think we all have to focus on education, and we have to find out exactly what type of education and for who is that education. Because sometimes we take things in a general manner without knowing that we want to address a particular situation. And for these girls, we have to find out from where did they stop with their education. And if they stopped somewhere, we need to find what we can do next. And in fact, what I've gone to now is that I would like an accelerated learning program. Much as I'm speaking, I'm dreaming actually loudly with you all. I have already asked Oklahoma University Department of Education to write for me a curriculum of accelerated education, compressed learning, where these girls would have taken 7 years in primary education. I would like them to take 4 years with serious learning and put them on this platform where they can speak for themselves instead of me. And I think that's what all of us can do. There are a lot of bad things happening in the world. I still recall the recent happenings in Nigeria, of course, and then what happened in Paris. That has always struck me, how the world leaders came together and stood up, holding hands, addressing that situation. Can't the world do that for Africa? Yeah. When it happened in Nigeria, where are the women? Where are the world leaders? Why did we not go to Nigeria and hold hands? When they happened 30 years in Uganda, why did we get out of it? We forgot about it. That's why last year I said the media has to keep everything happening to humanity, and especially women and children, in the forefront. Everything happening to women and children will always be new. And if we forget, we have to know everything happening in Uganda, in Nigeria, in any part of the world is going to happen in our backyard. We have to work hard. We have to be together to fight and address this problem in order to break that circle and bring it to an end.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The truth of the matter was that at the same time that Charlie Hebdo murder happened, there was that murder in 200 people in Nigeria, and nobody said a word about it.
That is what upset me.
Nobody said a word. So what is your goal now with the center? You want to start other centers, don't you? I mean, you want to start other centers like St. Monica?
Yes, I'm starting already, actually. I've already started one center in Atiak, that is 70 kilometers away from Gulu, and people may ask me, why did you choose to go to Atiak? Atiak was a place where the rebels were very, very active. Coming from the Sudan, they would pass by via Atiak, and if children escaped being abducted while the rebels were passing, they wouldn't escape abduction while the rebels were returning to the Sudan. And a lot of women remained there totally without hope. They didn't know that they can even regain their lives again. And one day someone asked me to go and see some women, young girls, who needed help in terms of skills and education with their children. And I totally thought I would go and pick like 20 girls and their children, bring them to Gulu, help them as I'm doing with other girls. To my surprise, I went and found 120 girls waiting for me. I didn't know who to choose, and I was totally dumbfounded. I told them, instead of taking the 20 I had planned, remain where you are. I'm coming to start the school here.
Yeah, I love that. It's wonderful.
And I'm going to do the same in South Sudan, because I know the Lord's Resistance Army were very, very active in South Sudan. Also, the SPLA were very active. And all of us know when the rebels are fighting, when there is any situation of war in any part of the world, the target are the vulnerable. And who are the vulnerable? They are women and children. So I would like to be there and see what I can do with the community.
Well, thank you. Sister Rosemary, you are an inspiration. I want everyone to know that the beautiful purses that they make in St. Monica's are on sale in our boutique, and I know all of you are going to want to buy them because they support her extraordinary work that she's doing. She's a great inspiration to us all. We love you, Sister Rosemary, and keep going with this amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.